Hey Channel Insiders, welcome back for another episode of Channel Insider Partner POV, your source for untapped opportunities and unfiltered opinions in the IT channel to help you make better business decisions. I'm your host, Katie Bavoso, and my guest today is Phillip Walker, Customer Advocate CEO of Network Solutions Provider. In my eyes, Phil is like the Tony Stark of the channel when it comes to emerging and next-gen technologies. And he's able to explain these complicated solutions to his clients in a really comprehensible way, thanks to his pizza recipe analogy. Phillip, welcome. It's so great to see you.
It's great to see you as well. Thank you for having me.
You got it. It's been a while since we've spoken, so I'm really excited to be able to have the time with you, and thank you for coming on. Let's talk about Network Solutions Provider USA. I think it's a title that is very on the nose, but why don't you tell us what exactly is NSP, what kind of solution provider are you, and who are the customers that you typically serve?
So we consider ourselves a next-gen managed service provider. And everybody comes to us and says, well, what does that really entail? We were born out of the data center, focusing on what we believe is IT services with expertise, with, that early bell curve technology. So us mastering the new technology. So by the time that it's ready for prime time, we are already ahead of the curve in terms of service delivery, implementation, consulting. So we typically service mid-market IT companies, small businesses, education, hospital, and growth, and really empowering the SMB business, right? Because we focus on the business outcomes for what they're buying, and that's technology.
So speaking of the business outcomes, in previous conversations that we've had, you broke down the way you approach your customers because they want to buy what you said is pizza, and you're going to them with pepperoni, having them understand the full story. This is my favorite analogy I've ever heard. So can you please kind of break down for me how you help your customers understand the solutions?
It's figuring out the recipe, right? So when people come to us, we have specialty what we consider pizzas, right? Best of breed, ready to go, out of the box, tested, proven. We know that they work. We can provide them, or we can deliver them. Then you have build your own pizza. Because a lot of times solution providers or end users are looking at one aspect of their IT space, which is fine. And sometimes it's just a pepperoni. But when you put all these different pieces together, they may not work internally at a business. So when we see that, we see IT people, businesses overspending on technology, not getting full saturation and use out of technology, overlaps in technology, wasted time and and implementation motion. So for us, we say that, hey, we know that you want to build your pizza this way, but this is really the ingredients that go together. And these are the pieces that work best. So we've always said that, hey, don't buy ingredients, you buy pizza. So we help the customer focus on the outcome, right? What is it that you want your technology to do? And that's why we focus on our three pillars, which is productivity, profitability, and protection.
Can you speak to some of the success stories that you've had recently and talk to me about how you're implementing those trends such as AI and really driving success for the customer in a way that they didn't have before?
In a way of AI, and I could be more excited about a next wave of technology, right? I think everybody is anticipating what AI is. And the challenge is that everybody started with their first experience of AI, which is ChatGPT, and asking it questions and getting responses. And a lot of companies were like, hey, we need this in our company. And they spent money and then it didn't work. And they were like, well, how come it's not working? It's because you forgot the most important thing about AI, the data. You have to teach it, right? It has to learn. It has to have a learning language model that is robust enough for it to spit out business outcomes. So we had a client that deployed a AI software / ERP in their company, and the information that it was spitting out didn't make any sense. Like, it had no value. It didn't really have anything tangible that they could get to, and they were going to spend more money on AI. Happened to be having a conversation with them about a different project, heard the issue, asked them if I could, take a stab at it. So we brought in a team of data analytics, data scientists, analyzed their data, realized that 70% of their data was in silos. Most of it was data at rest. It wasn't connected. There was no, the data wasn't getting into the AI, and let alone the AI wasn't connecting the dots for the information. So, a small conversation led into a data, if you will, cleansing enrichment process that actually made their AI start to spin out real information with about 60 to 90 days. But that unique approach to the problem gave us way business outcome, exceeded the ROI of the software that they were supposed to be getting. And again, it immediately gave them impact for the, for their customers, because now their marketing team was getting information that they hadn't gotten before. The operation team was getting information that they hadn't gotten before. And they were able to pivot and move, or they were having recommendations. So I would say that was a huge success, for us, late last year, that, kind of rolled into our labs. And we're starting to see more of that. And now that we understand how to ask that question, people are now giving us a look of, we're having that problem, right? It's the understanding that now, okay, we have an ingredient to a pizza that we need to build. Who else is having this problem? Who else is looking at this? Because as AI grows, the thing that's going to make AI successful is the data. And when it doesn't have data, it searches the web for the data, but it may not be as specific as you need. It means to get to, how does it fit me, right? How does this work for my particular company based on my operational capacity and the people and pieces that I have in place?
On the IT buyer side, if they're running into an issue, is there anything that you can kind of advise them as far as what question to ask their solution provider or their technology provider about how can I solve this problem?
I would start at the productivity conversation. How do you help people do less with more? Right? That's the first underlying thing, is how do I take your existing pieces that you have, connect them, and get you ready for AI, or get you, what we consider pre-cognitive, right? Before you start having software start to give you recommendation. That's the easy conversation. Because there's not going to be a business that's going to say, no, I don't want them, I don't want my processes to be faster. So productivity is an easy sell point. It gives everybody the capacity to say a relatable something that has a tangible business outcome that you can tie to an ROI. So if I ask, hey, if we can move your efficiency 15%, the question is, how are you going to do that? Which leads to the BPO assessment, which leads to evaluating your current technology stack, which leads to how I can best improve it with technology. Having the profitability concept is, how do I stretch my current IT investments to do more to make myself pre-cognitive, pre-AI ready? That's another question that you can go down. What systems can I get away? What systems can I remove in order that AI take over? Right. And, and what, not necessarily people at this point, but systems, redundancies.
Pre-AI ready this is the first time I've heard that. Can you dig into that a little bit more? What does that look like? What does not being pre-AI ready look like?
The red flag is that you've probably, in your company, people have downloaded their own software and they kind of do their own things. Right. So that's the first one. Jim may have already downloaded ChatGPT, and Sally may be using Copilot, right? It just depends on which one they want to use. Tammy may be using Google Worksheets still, and someone may still be using Office 365. So internally, it's figuring out department-wise and individual-wise why everybody's on different pages. What are the best tools that they need to be productive? And realizing that not all those AIs communicate, right? They don't communicate. They don't talk to each other. They don't share information. They're not connected. They're not looking at all the same information and looking at slivers of information and data. So red flag, those companies that have fragmented systems, they're not cohesive, systems that don't talk to each other, and that there's no shared collaboration. And I always say that high collaboration shows high maturity in a company.
What are some use cases in which you're using AI?
We're using AI as a productivity driver for companies. So, what we're doing now is doing the assessment for companies, figuring out their their maturity level, and creating a matrix that will line up with the IT, with the AI model that we'll best recommend, and then putting together a 30-day plan to what we consider cognitive ready, right? So that's where we've kind of parked the destination. So with that product, we've been able to sit down with 7 companies over the last year, evaluate all their systems, and create automation in some places, and then when slowly getting them to AI ready. By doing that, we've taken out the guesswork, right? Of what direction they're going to go, what tools they're going to use, and what direction they're going to go in the next 5 years. The amount of savings that we provided for a lot of these companies has been enormous in the beginning, and it's streamlined a lot of the decisions. So, in the ERP system, in the ERP world, that's probably going to be the best driver for that, right? Because it removes the silos of software systems, it removes the divisions inside companies, and it allows it to, kind of have some of complete visibility of a company. And that is missing in the SMB space. An SMB will probably have 9 to 10 different software systems that they have, everything from a CRM to an HR system to project management system to, but they're all different companies.
Yeah.
Us getting them ready for that cognitive place allows them to transition into a platform that can handle all the divisions, all the information, and then share it across, department, making it a real good tool for the company.
So, Phillip, what is a vertical that you're excited about AI being used in that we may not be considering as I sit here right now?
I'm really excited about healthcare and in AI. And I think that the capabilities of healthcare and AI are going to be enormous in that space in terms of patient care, tracking information, delivery, IoT connected devices. I think it's going to be massive impact in that space. And I think that even the smaller facilities are going to be able to use AI to really, not just answer the phone, right? But actually get into, custom care and recommendations that are going to be better. But the goal is, for the hospitals and everybody in that space is, again, it's the data enrichment process that they have to go through. Once they go through that process and they get to a point where they can enrich their data, they can, none of their data is siloed and all their systems are talking. That once they actually start to bring in AI and working with the experts and doctors, I think we're going to see a level of patient care that we haven't seen here. I know that there's a few companies out there that are already implementing this and doing very, very well. And it's just remarkable on how the growth for AI in this space is going to be.
When it comes to vendors that are doing it well, that are helping you do your job to the best of your ability, is there anyone that you can shout out in this moment?
In the AI space, I would say obviously IBM has been, beyond helpful in terms of what the possibility of AI could possibly be, right? Where they have bent the corner already in terms of business applications and AI ready.
And is that IBM Watson specifically, their AI offering?
Yes. I think I think they've maybe changed the names a couple times at this time, but I think that is, going to be a massive, impact piece for, manufacturing, supply chain management and all the bigger operating systems. I think that it's going to get to a point where it's in the SMB space as well. I think Microsoft is, leaning towards major hypergrowth in this space. It maybe not necessarily tangible right now for most of everybody, but the things that you're starting to see where they're leaning, the directions they're going, it is absolutely great. But without saying a bunch of names, the amount of AI startups that are in the space now that are being disruptive is just amazing. And this growth of digital transformation is becoming more and more a reality with AI and the capabilities of what it can do and how quickly it can get things done. And for the SMB space, this is going to be the chance for them to move faster than they have before and actually service the client faster.
Are there any investments that you're looking to make as far as technology goes that maybe aren't AI? We've talked a ton about that, but are there any trends or initiatives that you're either interested in or implementing right now?
So for us, the growth of our cybersecurity team, or the defenders, has exceeded our growth. Right, it's actually going to be probably, one of the bigger pieces on this, just based on the amount of expertise, growth, and capacity that we've packed and in such a little bit of time. And the use of AI in cybersecurity and how it's able to help the threat hunting, the threat intelligence, and helping us get smarter, better tools, right? So, those investments this year are going to be huge for us. The AI piece, we have been scouring the United States for talent, right?
Really?
Not just for people, but for tools. And to get to the point where we can get 9 or 10 solutions that we can feel like we can deliver at a high level is a goal for us this year. I think by the fourth quarter, AI will probably be about 15 to 20% of our revenue,
Wow.
for another growth piece. I think that verticals are starting to open to this. And I know that our data analytics team is ready to build out that precognitive solution for people. So the success, and once that spreads, is going to be huge in that space. Other than that, I think that, this the idea of virtual AI, right? And I keep, and not to plug Apple as much as they think they can, but I think the idea of having a VR AR headset that you can do business on is really going to open people's eyes to the capability of what's next, right? And I think that introduction of that product this year is going to catch a lot of people's, information. And then from that standpoint, I mean, I can't wait for the expansion of 5G, right? I think it's at a
Yeah,
point.
what does that look like? Like, what does that look like in the immediate future? Because it's still, after all this time, feels like this fairy tale. What does real 5G look like?
So, I always get excited to talk about anything network because obviously with the name, that is where I started at, right? 5G is going to be the enabler of next gen technology. We always judge everything by our cell phones, but the reality is that AR, VR is going to be able to be used on a cell phone edge level. The edge is going to move. And 5G is going to be the enablement piece for us. We're getting closer to a fully connected world. We're getting closer to companies understanding private LTE and the capabilities of it. We're seeing the expansion of Wi-Fi, or the demand of private LTE to work inside of an LTE, Wi-Fi network. Machine learning is demanding for IoT and 5G to be, meshed in together. So I'm excited about that one because obviously being a network IT company is going to be really great for us. We've made every bet you could possibly make in this space, from carrier to vendor, to be able to
We're going to
provide.
see you all on those VR headsets from Apple in 6 months, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If they can just get me through the wait list, I'll be extremely happy. But headset aside, what I'm most excited about is the connected small business, right?
Mhm.
And the idea that we do business everywhere. And how do I get secure connections at home? Because now people are working from home, and it's not going to go away. It's just going to, continue to grow. How do I protect myself, if I'm not behind my fortress firewall, right? So 5G is going to be a major step in delivering secure internet connections and giving people access to enterprise systems, remotely. And the reality is we need faster, better, connections in order to enable the next step of technology enablement, and immersion of technology. And 5G is almost there.
So what can vendors do in 2024 to better support businesses like NSP?
The channel is changing, and it's changing such at a rapid pace. And some of the changes have been unpopular by vendors, and some of the changes are really good. My best advice to the vendors that are in the channel is understand that it's not about us, it's about our customer. You have to put me in the best position so I can deliver in the best position. And the customer experience from buying and engaging with us has to be high. So the vendors have to empower us, right? They have to give us access to the training, access to professional services, create new revenue models for us to tap into, give us more empowerment to, service the customer, because the more that they do that, the easier it is for us to grow.
My last question for you today is for NSP, for you specifically, if it's something that you're doing on the side, are there any charitable or philanthropic organizations or plans that you're helping out this year or looking to invest in this year?
Oh man, this year is going to be a huge push. Our Minority Technology Alliance is growing. It started as a peer-to-peer. It actually started off as a phone call, right? Just a bi-weekly phone call with a couple of guys having conversations about the space. Now it's growing into strategic conversations, and it's built into something a lot bigger. So still advocating for DEI, still advocating for diversity in tech, and adding the level of DEI in the channel and what that looks like, and how much it's so much different than job roles and descriptions and things of that nature. So definitely picking up the flag for DEI this year and advocating this year, making sure that it's pushed forward and in a business conversation, because it's necessary. Our foundation, that we've started is actually getting ready to launch this year, where we've been focusing on, what we consider at-risk kids, families, and then our cybersecurity for minority training program will probably launch in the second quarter. And again, focused on getting minorities into cybersecurity, getting them into cybersecurity leadership roles, getting them into training programs, and working on job creation in that space is going to be a huge driver for us this year.
Phillip, thank you so much for your time today. If we want to reach out to you to talk about all of our needs within the channel space, or we have IT buyers that want to get in touch with you and learn more and get help and make a pizza, what can they do and how can they reach out to you?
Find me on LinkedIn, right? It's not hard to find. Send me a message and just say, hey, I want to build a better pizza. Hashtag channel pizza.
Thanks again to my guest, Phillip, for joining me today, and thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Channel Insider Partner POV. We put out a new video and podcast every Thursday. You could find that as well as several other articles on channelinsider.com. You can also follow us on YouTube at channelinsider_news and trends, and subscribe to our podcast channel as well. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, probably other podcast platforms that I'm forgetting to mention right now. And if you want to be on the show, or you've got a question for me or any of the guests that have been here, you can email me at partnerpov@channelinsider.com. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Katie Bavoso, and I'll see you next time.